All right, welcome to the webinar, everyone. I'm Ed Forteau. I'm going to be your host for today and sole presenter. We're going to talk about how we are able to get high conversion or high attendance rates to our webinars. And I am going to bring up a slide. It's my name again is Ed Forteau. I am the co-founder of Email Open Rate Optimization. We specialize in email marketing and specifically email deliverability. So when you absolutely positively have to get your emails delivered, open, read, and clicked, we're the guys to talk to help you to ensure that you do that. So we're going to start the webinar right away. I'm going to open up my, I'm going to switch to my slides and we're going to have at it. If you have any questions, just please feel free to ask them. Oh, wait a second here. Get on the right window. Please feel free to ask them in chat. The webinar will last probably about 35-40 minutes, so there's plenty of time for questions if you have them at the end. There we go. So again, welcome. This webinar is about how we got an 86.7% attendance rate to our webinar. And again, I'm Ed Forteau. I'm your presenter with Email Open Rate Optimization. I will tell you that these webinars that we had done were LinkedIn events. And then they went to a webinar, a Zoom webinar. And that's how we are doing all our webinars. We get a pretty high attendance rate for our LinkedIn events. We're getting, I think right now, it's been a little over a week since we started promoting the next one, and we've got a little over 1,000 people in. So we're at a point now where we've done some experimentation and we're able to get at least 1,000. I think for this next one, we're going to have somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000 people registered for that next webinar. So in using LinkedIn events, we have a dilemma. And the dilemma is that LinkedIn does not play very nicely with a lot of the webinar platforms, especially Zoom. And the reason for that is you have two options when you're doing webinars or LinkedIn events. You can either connect it to an app like Zoom, what you're attending right now, or you can connect it to some other webinar platform. And well, I guess, well, that's one option. The second option is you just have a direct link to whatever streaming or webinar platform you have. And everyone we talk to that does that said, always choose the two-click opt-in with LinkedIn. It's just easy. You click once and you're registered to attend. You click a second time to confirm your email. And then there's a little box there that says that you'd have to click to say that you're willing to accept promotional emails from the sender. Now, most people do not click that button, but because it happens so quickly, they just click without even realizing there's a button there. You can email those people even though they didn't click the box, but you have to make sure that you give them an opt-out if they're doing that. So if you want to get the most people to register for your webinar, you want to do the one-click LinkedIn opt-in because you're just going to get a lot more people in. The dilemma really is now you have to get them to, once again, opt in to your webinar. If it's Zoom or Webinar Jam or whatever webinar platform you have to get them to go to that platform and then register again for your webinar. And there is where the problem is, but the solution that we have is this. And that's email follow-up. If you're not using email to follow up with your webinar attendees, you're probably getting a fraction of the number of people that actually register on Zoom or Webinar Jam or whatever webinar platform you're using to actually show up. So the first step is to get them to physically register. Let's just stick with Zoom on Zoom and then make sure they book that appointment on their calendar. You want them to physically do it. You don't want to do it for them. If you do it for them, it should be at the last resort, a couple of days before the webinar. But what you want to do is, let's say the webinar or your event is 3 weeks out. You want to spend the first week and a half to 2 weeks doing two things: providing value and asking them to sign up officially on Zoom. And you need to keep asking that question over and over and over again. And even if they click to go to the Zoom link, a good percentage of people aren't going to follow through and actually register for the webinar. We found you have to get them to go 2 or 3 times to ensure that they actually do register. Now, once you get them to register and it's on their calendar, and you're reminding them of attending and you're providing great value, then you can get people to show up at a pretty high rate. So one of the things that we do when we do those follow-up emails is we provide value, which is kind of a preview to what they're going to get in the webinar, and kind of a teaser. And then to get the rest of the story or to hear even more about this maybe topic that we're covering, to get the inside story, we're going to cover that in the webinar. And we do that over and over and over again. We send 2 emails a week, every week. And then when we get closer to the webinar, 2 or 3 days before, we increase that to 1 email a day and then 1 an hour before. And they're not only just getting emails from us, they're getting notifications from Zoom, and they're also getting notifications from LinkedIn. I think one of the big mistakes that people make with LinkedIn events is they depend solely on LinkedIn to remind people to attend the webinar. And if you're doing that, again, you're going to have really low attendance rates. You want to use email. Now, if you're going to use email, the very first rule, the main rule of email is to make sure it gets delivered. You just can't hit send and expect it to show up. Marketing emails don't show up. 51% of marketing emails are not seen, not because they're in the inbox and they're overwhelmed with emails. It's that they just didn't get delivered. They ended up in spam or they were blocked. And some of that 51% also kind of goes in the promotional box that they don't see. But usually less than 50% of emails, marketing emails, emails that are sent from a marketing app, actually get into the primary inbox of the sender. And there's some reasons for that. Email really wasn't created as a marketing channel. It is for one-to-one communication. So it's you sending emails to your friends, your colleagues, your relatives. Those are the people that that email was designed for. It wasn't designed for mass communication. So what you have to do is mimic mass communication. Mimic your emails going to someone who actually wants them, a friend, a colleague, a relative, and you want to get high engagement. You want to get like high open rates. So if you and I know one another and I'm sending you an email or maybe multiple emails, there may be a handful that slip through the cracks that you don't see. If you're anything like me, you get a lot of emails, hundreds of emails every single day. And some of them, even from people that you know, kind of get lost in the shuffle. But for the most part, most of those emails are going to get open. The big thing with email is to ensure that you're sending an email to somebody who actually wants to receive it, and ideally is looking for it and is going to open it, is going to maybe click on a link that's there or reply to it. And all those engagement triggers is what the email mailbox providers are looking for. So you want to give the mailbox providers what they want, and they want 2 things. They want to make sure that your email is secure, and they want to make sure that there's good engagement, as I mentioned. Now, security is one of the areas that a lot of people miss. In fact, 87% of marketing emails aren't secure. And the 3 areas of security that you want to focus on are the SPF records, the DKIM records, and the DMARC records. And those are authentications to make sure that you are the valid or authorized sender of that email, and it lets the mailbox providers know that. Otherwise, they could think that you're spam. There's over 300 billion emails sent every single day. 300 billion. It's a big number. 85% of those emails are spam. A lot of spam gets sent through email. And the way that happens is that somebody either spoofs or hacks an email account. And if you have the security protocols in place, it makes it very difficult, almost impossible for someone to spoof or hack your email. So when you think about these three, SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, think of them this way. It's like a home security system. Think about SPF as locking your windows and DKIM as locking your doors. And then DMARC is a security system that makes sure that if someone were to breach in your house by breaking your windows or knocking in your door, the alarm is going to go off. It's going to call the police. They're going to show up and take the robber away before any harm could be done. DMARC makes sure that everything is working properly with your SPF and DKIM records. And when we look at most marketing emails, and even from specifically those that are coming from people that are doing webinars, we see that about 87% of those emails do not have the proper DKIM authentication. And you may think that you've set it up right. You follow the directions in your email service provider that they gave you, but there's some easy ways to check to make sure that it's done properly. You can use a tool like MX Toolbox to check for both SPF and DKIM records. It's probably the easiest tool to use. The other thing that you can do is send an email to yourself. And then in the from field, it should have your email address and your name and your email address. If it has your email address and then the word via, and then another link like a website, let's say it's Aweber or Infusionsoft, that via shows that your email account is not properly authenticated with DKIM with your mailbox, your email service provider, and that's a problem. A lot of people don't experience the problem right away because it's one of the factors that the mailbox providers check. And there's times where, specifically in Outlook, if you don't have your DKIM properly authenticated, your emails are going to go into the junk folder. More often than not. Doesn't happen 100% of the time, but more often than not, they will. And then what ends up happening is you may get put on a blacklist for your domain, or the sender IPs may end up on a blacklist if enough people are doing that. And even though the mailbox providers don't actually talk to one another, they do check to see who's on the blacklist and who isn't. And so then it kind of snowballs. Then you get put on another blacklist from, say, Gmail and so forth. Now, all of a sudden, you're on 2 or 3 blacklists. And not only are your emails not getting into the primary inbox in Outlook, they're not getting into the primary inbox in Gmail and Yahoo and AOL. And now you've got a big problem. And we see that all the time. So even if your emails are getting delivered, but your DKIM keys are not properly authenticated, you want to do that, because at some point it will catch up to you and you'll find that you're not being able to get your emails in the primary inbox. And if you're not getting emails in the primary inbox, you might as well not send them. Next thing is the 830 rule. And the 830 rule is an approximation. It depends upon which mailbox provider you're talking to, but these are the metrics they're looking at when you're sending an email, especially marketing emails, specifically marketing emails. They want to see an 8% open rate in the first hour. 8% open rate in the first hour. So you should be monitoring emails as they go out, especially if you're sending out email blasts, that 8% of those emails are being opened in the first hour. And then they're looking at a 30% overall open rate. So you want to make sure after a day or two at the most that you're getting a 30% open rate. And if you do those two things, you're going to be in good shape with the mailbox providers. Now, a lot of people may think, well, the industry average is only 20%, for an open rate? Well, the way I look at it is, imagine that you have your kids in grade school and they're smart kids. They're very, very smart. They're brilliant, and they should be A students, but they come home with a report card full of C's. Average. Are you happy with average grades? Probably not. Probably not. And you want to make sure that you're doing above the average, because above the average is about a 70% inboxing rate in the primary inbox. That's about average. If you're above average, then you're getting most, if not all, of your emails in the primary inbox, even emails that are promotional emails. And the more that you can improve your 1 hour inboxing rate and overall inboxing rate, you're going to see that the mailbox providers are going to be a lot more lenient as to the language you use, where some of the language, salesy type language that you might use in your emails would have normally got you into the promotional inbox, and it gets you directly into the primary inbox instead. So the 80-8-30 rule is something that you should apply when you're sending out emails. The next thing is engagement. And so you have to understand that the mailbox providers see your subscribers, everyone who's using their mailbox, as their clients, and they want to protect their clients. So the first thing that they want to do is make sure that when you send an email to their clients, that it's coming from you. It's not spoofed. You're not trying to scam anybody. Your email account hasn't been hacked. So they want to make sure that their customers are protected. A lot of these mailbox providers are providing that service for free and showing ads to them. That's how they make their money. Or there's a premium upgrade, and they don't want to lose the subscribers to one of the other mailbox carriers. So you need to understand that the big circle is all of their clients. The smaller circle, the next one, is your subscribers. And the thing with this subgroup is that you have to remember what the mailbox providers want. They want to see that you're using their email, they're sending emails to your friends, families, coworkers, associates. They're looking for high engagement, high open rates, high reply rates, high click-through rates. And you're not going to get that if you're doing an email blast to all of your subscribers. But then the next level is those people that are interested. So now you're sending an email to someone who is interested in what you are offering. It is the right message to the right person. And you're going to get a much higher open rate at that point. You're going to be much closer to the 8% open rate. We have usually a 20% or 25% open rate, 20 to 25% open rate in the first hour, and a 40 to 50% open rate in the first day or two. So we exceed that because we focus on sending emails to those who are interested. And then the next group at the bottom are buyers. Now those emails are going to get a much, much higher open rate, 50% or higher, click-through rates at 50% or more. And that makes the mailbox providers are very happy with the emails that you're sending when there's that much engagement on your emails. So what'll end up happening is, because you are focusing on people that are interested and buyers, and you're getting high engagement, most all of your other emails are going to get delivered in the primary inbox. And again, if you're trying to get more people to your webinar, the first thing you have to do is ensure that you're sending out emails and those emails are getting into the primary inbox. And if you're not doing that, you're kind of dead in the water. So how do we ensure early on that we are sending emails to people who are interested? There's a few things that you could do. One thing that you could do is put a survey at the beginning of your opt-in, or as soon as somebody opts in, to find out what they're most interested in. You can give them 3 or 4 or 5 different choices and start segmenting that list based on what they're most interested in. And it could be just interest in a certain component of your webinar. So you create a webinar and you have maybe 3 or 4 different topics or sections, subsections that you're going to present on. And then you present those 3 or 4 to people when they first opt into your list. Now they check one, they get tagged for that interest. And now we're only going to send emails to them that are based on what their stated interest was. That's how you end up getting high open rates, 40%, 50% open rates. We've had an open rate as high as 94% from people that signed up for LinkedIn events with a 47% click-through rate. But the only reason that happened is because we matched the interest. And then when you match the interest at the right time, so the right message, the right person at the right time, you're hitting the buyers and you're going to get a very high engagement rate. So as I mentioned before, like, how do you achieve this? How do you achieve the high open rates that you're shooting for? And it comes down to tagging and segmenting the list. So as I mentioned, you find a way to tag people based on what they're interested in. If you don't do a survey, you can do something that we call a needle in a haystack. So we send out a broad email to everybody, and then about a specific topic that we're going to be covering in more depth on our webinar. And we like to use videos, and a video could be 3, 4, 5 minutes long. So the email goes out, it talks about a topic or a tip or a strategy or a tactic that they could use to get the result that they're looking for. A certain percentage of those people, a pretty large percentage of people, will open the email, read it. And then the click-through rate usually runs somewhere between 3 to 10%. Because remember, if you broke up your webinar into 3 different sections, there's going to be some of those people that are going to be interested in that topic. So we send the email out with the video about that topic. The people who open and click on it, we know that on the first level, we're going to add 1 tag. We're going to add a tag for the people who opened it, that they have level 1 interest. And then we're going to add a tag to those people who actually clicked the link and watched it. They get a second tag. They're more interested. After they've watched that second video, now they're always going to have that tag on. If you wanted to schedule an appointment with them to do a consultation, which is what we have done, we've gotten as high as 50% of the people that we sent the follow-up email. So we send a follow-up email after they've had time to consume it. Say it takes 5 minutes to watch the video, 7 to 10 minutes later, a follow-up email goes to that second level tag person, and it invites them to a booking link where we can do a 10-minute, 15-minute appointment going over that specific topic in more depth, like customizing it to them. And we've had approximately, exactly 47% of the people would go to the booking link. Not everybody would book the appointment. We do have a follow-up process for people who abandon the booking link, but over 60% of those people booked an appointment, and we made sales before the webinar even happened. So that's the tagging part. The segmenting part is also the same. Now we've tagged and we've segmented that group of people as hyperactive, hyper responsive, or hyper interested in that particular topic. So those guys fall into that one topic. Now we have the other subsection of the 3 or 4 in the webinar. We send an email out to them with a video that talks about that section, and they're either going to open it and not click, or open it and click. They're going to get 1 of 2 tags put on them. If they open it, they get 1 tag. If they click, then we remove the open tag and we add the click tag to that particular subtopic. And we do that for each one of the topics. Now, from this point on, when we're sending emails to anyone who opened or clicked those emails, we're sending emails specifically about that topic until they don't open those emails anymore. And then we put them in to a broader group to try to figure out, oh, okay, they got all the information they wanted on that particular topic. What other topic are they interested in? And we do a tag and segment them based on those groups. All right, so we're here at the end. Our webinar went pretty quickly, so I'll leave this open for questions here in a second. In order to achieve a high webinar attendance rate, it requires effective email follow-up, not just sending emails, but sending emails with a purpose, sending emails to people who are interested, tagging, segmenting, sending the right message to the right person at the right time. So that's all I have. And what I will do now is leave it open for questions if anyone has any questions. And what I'll do is, if you have any questions, or if you want to reach me, I'll leave my contact information in there. So I'll leave it open for questions here if we don't have any questions, that's fine. I'll leave it open for about 4 minutes. I like doing webinars quickly. I talk pretty fast. Don't ramble. Rambling now. But I prefer to be done in 30 to 40 minutes so that there's time for questions and you folks can get on with your day at the end of the hour. Nothing worse than not getting to the point of a webinar until near the end, and then there's no time for questions. So I'll wait another minute, and if there's any questions, please feel free to ask them. And if not, it was a pleasure to present this information to you. I hope that you found it of value. Do put it to use. You will absolutely get a much higher attendance rate to your webinars, but more importantly, you can make a lot more sales if you apply what I suggested. We do very well sales-wise and attendance-wise, and we seem to have figured out how to get a lot of people attending our webinars. So there's a lot that you can learn from what I shared and what we do.